Okay. So I'm continuing this simply because I have no choice but to continue this. I have lots of stuff I have to do in July. I have to fix up a front fence for someone. Then I have to keep focusing on my own work. And then possibly something like Doom Eternal. So I'm thinking to myself, alright, I might have to push Doom Eternal back to August. It's just that simple. Depending on how long this is, and it feels like I'm getting towards the end, but it feels like I'm not. Um, so I might try to rush through this one, just for the context itself.
The Kew Gardens symbol.
I was thinking about coming back in July and everything, but I don't want to waste time like that. I had no idea this game was this long.
The list of plant friends and benefactors, lawyers, well-known manufacturers, political leaders.
So what we have here, a list of lawyers, accountants, benefactors, the whole 9 yards, people who have somewhat of a reasonable intelligence, because I can't for the life of me see someone as crazy as the old man outside praying to a plant, possible plant god or plant related god, to be any type of common sense whatsoever that anyone would follow him, or they would want to follow whoever is leading them. So it seems rather stupid. Like if those people were to meet that man out there, they would probably say, what type of nut job is this that you have working with us in this organization? So what this tells me is that either these people are all aware of the con artists of the whole thing, or they are all nut jobs themselves. The reality of it is that they probably are all nut jobs.
That should be the raw sap that the Green Grand Mystic spoke of. It is rather delicious, and of an excellent quality.
My word, Holmes. Their sap is like a form of cocaine.
Okay, so the sap was probably used with the mixture of the chemicals. I could see how he would die. It would enhance, either it would enhance the chemicals, or it would dilute it. But either way, it would make it very potent and probably specifically attacked a certain part of the body. I mean, cocaine. I mean, if this is like cocaine, it's going to hurt a person's body, make them delusional, and have them die. But mixed with that chemical, probably will give instant death within a matter of minutes or less than a minute. Okay. I'll try to dumb down the talking in this one, because I need to. I don't have much time with this one.
This door.
It's a pain in the ass when you're tired. When it comes to doing anything. Because it just makes everything annoying. What the hell? Are there two little stars? I wonder, maybe I'm
This
overthinking
door
this.
is
I'm overthinking this. It's simple. I just need to put this here. Start from the outside. Put this line here. Is this the next one from outside? Yeah, this one. It lined up nicely there. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there. Okay. I have to move this around to see how things are. Man, oh man, sleeping is a real pain in the ass. What the hell? There's something missing here. Again, falling asleep here. My God. If it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to just complete this and be done with it, I wouldn't be... Okay. Okie dokie, okie smoky. Maybe I'm looking at it. I mean... Oh, for Christ's sakes. See, that's why I'm tired.
This
Because
door is
I
locked,
could move to the left
but
and
I
right,
can
and I'm
try.
struggling with this the whole time. I'm not even what the hell's going on. So I'm not paying attention because I'm tired. It's so freaking stupid. All I had to do is just pay attention. Line up what I'm supposed to line up. And be done with it. Alright. Okay. Now I can move this. Wait, what? There you go. Whole freaking time I'm wondering what the hell is going on. Okay, now I'll leave that just where it is. And now. Because I'm sleepy. Because I'm sleepy, I'm not paying attention. Like, I see arrows there, but I ain't even paying attention to the arrows. I'm like, whatever, man. Because I'm just trying to get this over with. I'll speak to this guy, then I'll go through this door. It's the same with the thing at the bloodbath when I didn't see like the symbols at the bottom of those statues because I was so tired. I wasn't even paying attention. It's weird when you're tired, you don't pay attention to certain things, and you feel sometimes like, hey, am I really solving this thing fast, or do I just don't get it? And that's not the case. The case is just that if you're tired, your mind isn't on certain things. Like, I've been trying to be done with this game since last week, but it just keeps going on and on.
Caterpillars. They are raised as food for certain plants. Let's take them.
Yeah, so whoever did this killing is associated with this syndicate because caterpillars was found within the chemicals and possibly was used in order to poison the person as well, because you needed the caterpillars for the plant to enhance or to do his own defense mechanism. But you had to neutralize the toxin so it doesn't affect the human being, so you could take the sap. So whoever, the only logical reason for who could be here is a person who did separate exhibitions outside of Kew Gardens, which would be Hamish. But that also applies for Albert as well, because he was trying to do other activities outside of his house. He wanted to be on the ship and stuff, but we really didn't know what he was doing beyond just being busy on the ship. So if he was busy trying to study for exam to be part of a navy, then he wouldn't have time for this. And this would be something that more like Hamish would be involved in, or the girl. So if the girl wanted to get revenge on Old Man Dunn for letting her go with regards to not giving her money anymore or supporting her or trying to fire her, she would use her old culty stuff or that she follows in order to gain access to certain things and kill. I mean, it seems very much like the game is leaning towards Hamish, and that could be a distinct possibility, a very distinct possibility, but it's very powerful. And I'm not sure if the game would want to repeat the same situation where the most obvious guy is the obvious guy.
A tropical plant. Nothing of interest. A tropical plant. Nothing of interest.
Whoever this killer was interested in only poisonous plants.
A tropical plant. Nothing of interest. 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 These 3 plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them.
Like, it's pointing towards Hamish motives, making sense. Like this setup experiment. So, but I can't like his ambitions after the death of his father. I can't link him to this stolen thing because then that's assuming that because his father died, and this it has nothing to do with stolen plants that were from the exhibition. His ambitions doesn't have anything to do with that. Yeah, it also doesn't like her and her. Both of these wouldn't be related because just because he has ambition for exotic plants, don't mean that either of these are correct. Her being having ambition for exotic plants and him having his own ambitions don't mean anything related to stolen plants. So I knew his was off, but I also knew hers was off, but I wasn't 100% sure hers was off. So it was half and half on hers. What else? Okay.
Praise the grand tree, praise it!
This must be Triwan, the Divine Syndicate's god.
These people are a bunch of loony bins. Praying to a tree god. Well, people used to do worse back in the days, ancient times, but it would be rather silly now once science has become the epicenter of modern civilization. And really, modern civilization really started the moment man split the atom and was able to cipher it into certain coding. That was one of the major time separations from past arcane science. One of the major ones. For that which was done simply based on trial and error to that which was done based on trial and error and analysis and mixture of chemicals. And then evidence. Now, not to say that people who used to create gunpowder back in the days didn't do trial and error and then mix certain herbs together and then, well, bomb, set up gunpowder or stuff for sieges and stuff. But I would say they didn't take it upon themselves to find a way to explain things that could not explain. So even though the science part was there, the ability to debunk what is and what isn't possible was never there until more modern science, out of fear of persecution more than anything. Once it became commonplace that the logic of how things work chemically and physically, everything became simple to understand and easy to replicate by normal means of anyone who's able to do it. And once that became the centerfold of society, then no one ever got scared of being crucified or killed because they decided to defy religion. And that stuff didn't really start to happen until late 19th century. Yeah, I mean, it started to happen late 19th century. People were still like praying to gods and stuff, and Salem witch trials and all that crazy stuff was happening. But it was late 19th century, early 20th century that the idea of gods playing a factor, or curses, or witchcraft playing a factor really went down the toilet. Mostly in the 20th century, more than anything. So I think the introduction of steam power engines brought it about first. Um, the Wright brothers' invention. Yeah, with the inventions of the automobile, steam power engines, and of course electrical power vehicles, everything that once was explained that needed to come through with regards to magic wasn't needed anymore. You didn't need to combine certain herbs together, sing a chant, and then pray to God for you to fertilize your stuff anymore. The the science of it did all the work without you even trying. So yeah, praise praise 20th century technology and late 19th century technology. If we're still talking 17th century, then motherfuckers would still be getting killed and crucified, beheaded and burned. Not to say that stuff didn't happen in the late 19th century, but it extremely didn't happen a lot, especially in the early 20th century. It didn't happen a lot. Only certain cults in certain places, especially those down south who still believe in voodoo, and those up north who also believe in certain mythology in the way north of Canada and stuff. We're still holding on to that stuff. Eventually, science came to rid all that. Because if I could do something and solve it without having any knowledge of a god, for which people who are extremely religious or shaman would believe you would need to understand and get the blessings of a god in order to do this, and science is able to do it without any association of any blessings, then doubts came in that such a thing was needed anymore. So praise be to 20th century tech and late 19th century tech. I'm not saying enlightenment wasn't there, but the factor of gods and religion really overpowered much of society for centuries on end.
This cabinet is full of chemicals. They are the same as the ones we found in the laboratory at Kew Gardens. This substance is an alkaloid, the same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens. Perfect, Watson. We can begin our experiment. That would be enough to perform the most difficult of chemical experiments. These instruments are used for smoking opium. A vast amount of opium.
Oh, by the way, Sherlock Holmes was known for taking drugs. Not because he was an addict, but he was fascinated by its nature to fuel the mind and riddle the body, to give certain feelings. I guess he used it in order to assess certain situations under the influence, so he could understand how it feels to be that type of person. It's kind of the same way when he eats something that's poisonous. He has to put his finger into it to taste it, just to see what would happen. So he really is a very risky detective in many sense. I don't think there's any story that he ever indulged in drugs for simply the nature of indulging in it. I think the most that you could say he did it for was simply to ease his mind from stress of work. But at the same time, then a lot of fans of the books will argue that that's just a lie, that Sherlock Holmes is not that person to just like take drugs for just enjoyment's sake. But the way Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote it is, he wrote it in a way that it didn't explain when Sherlock was taking something, certain substance, whether he was actually doing it for enjoyment or for experiment. He never indulged in why he was taking these things. So you can't really say he was a drug addict or even a user, because you don't know if he was using it for something or was simply for enjoyment. I mean, it could have been for enjoyment, so the idea of wanting to know how it feels, just like someone wanting to know how smoking cigarette feels like, and to enjoy it every once in a while, would make him an addict, would make him a user. So Holmes did use drugs, but he never did it for the enjoyment sake of just enjoying. Unless Mr. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was doing drugs himself and wanted to include it with his character.
Kew Gardens?
None. Not worthy there.
So random people come here, he see them come here, and he has no friends of Kew Garden. Probably have enemies of Kew Garden, but if the person came here to acquire certain plants and certain mixtures, he would have to be part of this cult. So he is lying. There's Kew Gardens symbol that were located under, I mean not Kew Garden, the syndicate symbol that were located under the pots. But it's not about the brand.
None. Not worthy there.
Okay, he has no friends. That's not worthy there. He wouldn't know anything about berry chemistry flask. And if he's not worthy there, he wouldn't know anything about Kew Garden symbol. Symbol on broken pots. I haven't been paying attention to this guy very much, so that's not there either. Yeah, I haven't been paying attention to him at all.
None. Not worthy there.
Nevertheless, we have seen Kew Gardens flower pots in your yard. How could they happen to be there?
What? Our sacred place you permitted yourself to search. Sacrilege.
Oh, really now. There was a theft of plants at Kew Gardens a matter of days ago, and we believe the pots we found here may be connected with it. Please tell us, were you involved?
No. Those plants were ours. They had stolen them from us.
How so?
Their director, Dump, I believe.
Done.
Yes, that's what I said. He borrowed from us 3 of our sisters for the exhibition at his green fly-infested gardens. But he never gave them back to us. Excuses and imbecility. So we went in and saved them.
I see. So, if you stole those rare plants from them, then it means... Ah, I get it. Bravo, Holmes. I think the case is solved.
No, we did not steal. We saved. Well, as a matter of fact, we were unable to find our 3 plants.
I beg your pardon. And yet you took all of the exotic plants from the stand.
They had disappeared. It was the least we could do. They stole our sisters, and so we stole theirs.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
Yeah, this guy is so full of shit, it's unbelievable. We didn't steal anything from them. They just took it from us, so we just reclaimed it. But then they took a hell of a lot more than their plants for which they were going after, and took all the plants. So, and then the pottery stuff that was here. So they not only tried to reclaim what was theirs, they took other stuff out of revenge as well. So he's trying to say they didn't steal anything, but they did steal something, because stuff they took isn't related to the potted plants for which Dunn borrowed from them. So let's say they reclaim back their plants, for which he's saying that how he was unable to find them anyway, so they took what they had available and then they split. At least that's what I'm trying to understand, because of his gibberish talking. So they took anything and reclaim it back. So the mystery of the stolen stuff, which is a separate case completely from death, is from these guys here. So I knew that the 2 cases aren't really related. An action of something separate was happening while something else was also happening. The only thing I would say is related with regards to the stolen plants and the death of this guy is the person who killed Dunn is part of this syndicate, because they just can't come in here and use their experiment stuff or take specific plants or seed or centipede or whatever they're trying to and leave without someone knowing. So that person or persons is part of this little cult. Grand Mystique told us that when they stole the plants from the Kew Gardens, they were unable to locate 3. So they were unable to locate the 3 plants for which was barred. So they took all the plants out of revenge and spite. Okay, so I was right because to that. It's hard to understand his little rantings. But then Holmes took the 3 out of their little shed just now. So unless this guy is completely blind and didn't realize whoever is using him came back and put back the original 3 that was stolen inside the shed without his knowing. So he has no idea that aside from the stolen stuff, murder probably happened. Divine Syndicate thieves are associated with deadly plants. Wait, what? The Grand Mystic told us that when they stole the plants that were from Kew, they were unable to locate the 3. 3 days before Divine Syndicate stole all of the plants from Kew Garden exhibitions, claiming that a number of these belonged to them. Now, how is this not related to each other? 3 days before Montague Dunn died, the Divine Syndicate stole all of the plants from the Kew Gardens exhibition, all claiming that the number of these belonged to them. So, is this trying to say that this is wrong? That he admitted to stealing plants from Kew Gardens, but they were unable to locate the 3? So the 3 I can't link them together because the 3 is not associated with stealing all the plants. So stealing all the plants is not tagged towards the 3. Fine. It's kind of dumb because they did steal it. He openly admit they stole it. Okay, divine syndicates. Some of the plants that were stolen from the exhibition can prove fatal to humans. Yeah, but what does that have to do with stealing all the plants? Okay, so it's partial theft. Alright, the divine syndicate stole all but the deadly plants from the exhibition. Yes, this is true because they were unable to find their 3. Because the person who was using the 3 plants used it in order to create toxins to kill Mr. Dunn. So they wouldn't be able to find it. But that person returned it and put it back inside of their garden, interior garden. So it is partial. Alright, because if I chose this and I picked Divine Syndicate stole all plants from exhibition, including the deadly species, but they just said that they couldn't find the 3 that they were looking for. So, yeah. And if I go with specialist of exotic plants, I could go with that being attached to missing deadly plants, but I already did that, and her being a specialist isn't connected to missing dead plants because it said so before in negative, just like this also said these aren't connected. So these 3 will never be connected. So I'm paying attention to these 3 specifically, because if all of a sudden they do highlight and link together, I'm going to start questioning what the hell's going on in this game. Once I get certain clues put together, then they're relevant and connected to each other, so I have to wait for the game to tell me when. Not good. Hopefully that's not the case. Alright, so the mystery is solved of the theft. The syndicate stole the plants from the greenhouse. Stole all of them. All except the poisonous plants that were used in order to kill. So 2 crimes happened, 1 theft and 1. So the murder one has been, or should I say the theft one has been solved easily, and the only one left to be solved is now the murder. So he's present. Now here's the thing. If another person shows up within this story here, like say if another character is shown and pop up here in this story, then that means these 2 will also show up, because there's no way if there's a 6th story, if there's yet another story, there will only be 2 people in that 6th story, because then that means the people who made the 6th story made it extremely shorter than any other story, and I don't see that being the case. So I believe he might be the final person within this story for which I need to speak to, and the last story will only include 3 people. That's the only thing that makes sense. Okay, so I need to do experiment here. I mean, the most logical person it could be is Hamish, but everything is telling me that it's the girl, you know. But I know the person that I want it to be is Albert, because these 2, both the girl Margaret and Hamish are fully aware of their job and how to do what they need to do, and they could use it to commit murder, which leaves him an outside factor who doesn't know how to use chemistry and chemical mixing, which puts him way far away from any killing whatsoever at all by brewing chemicals together. You would have to be an expert to know how to do this, and he doesn't have that classification. So that's the only thing that makes me think he's not the killer, even though it seems extremely obvious that it's trying to say he's not because of this, because he doesn't have that knowledge. So if I'm wrong, then the person that's on my radar to be the killer is the girl. I think Hamish is just a red herring, that's all. I'm sticking to Albert simply because the game is trying to deviate me from going to Albert, but the most logical choice is the girl. Hamish seems to be the red herring, but just like Mr. Garrow, the most obvious red herring is probably the killer, which I would probably deduct a point from the game if that's the case. Like, I'm not interested in solving a mystery where the person I think and I know is the killer, Mr. Hamish. I want more of a challenge, and I'm willing to accept the challenge in the form of Albert and in the form of the girl. I don't need an obvious killer. I need something with a bit of a challenge to it. And if they were to make this game with a bit of challenge to it, they would do so also within the story and not just within the puzzles.
A map of London and the surrounding area. It could be useful. A map. I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on the gas mask.
So I'm going to start with the Flora Diabolica.
I imagine
Florum
that one of these
Diabolica.
plants. I shall begin now. Watson.
I'll start with this one, since this is the one I'm assuming is the actual murder weapon. Not because I can find any information about it online, but because I also couldn't find any information of it online, and it gives off a certain aroma based on previous inspections of the body of Mr. Dunn and scented aroma that Holmes found within Kew Gardens. So unless I'm wrong about this being the scented one, yeah, well, let's try first. Why am I picking it back? Picking it up for? Select action. Examine.
This
Okay.
is a strange and unusual plant.
Can't rotate it. Okay. What's the point of swapping it? Okay. I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's start with the experiment first. We'll look at the contents here, and we'll use it on it. See what happens.
It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid.
So its defenses kick in the moment the fluid is added. Let's take it and check it out. Can I Alright, so let's see what happens with the caterpillar.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more.
Yes, so okay, so the liquid initiate its defense mechanism, which is also its attack mechanism. So once I introduce the caterpillar to it, it would consume it. So the only thing that would agitate it to remain open is this process of devouring the caterpillar. But the golden gold dust, I think, was added towards the compound with the cocaine mixed in with the caterpillar in order to, or should I say, the cocaine here was added to this in order to open it, to loosen it up. And I guess it would do its own thing of devouring, but would it remain open? Let's try it again.
It appears to open. It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more.
Okay, that's why it wanted me to move it. Because this one will eat the caterpillar.
It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid.
Nope.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more.
Okay, so it basically means this one doesn't eat the caterpillar, but it does produce the fumes. Okay, how would I agitate it more? Let's try.
It appears to open after being soaked with alcohol.
But it'll do the same thing if I do this. So Let's see what will happen if I do this. Nothing.
My word. It shot a spike at me after I stabbed it with a pin. I imagined that its reaction would be ferocious if I increased the strength of my attack. It appears to have fallen inactive after being disturbed.
Good. So now I could put this there once it's inactive.
It appears to have fallen inactive after being disturbed.
Shit. No. It will just eat the caterpillar if that's the case, so let's see.
This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid.
Okay.
This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid.
Yeah, but they both go back to their defaults, so I wonder.
This plant seems to have had no reaction from the caterpillars.
Yeah, but I put this one here. This will grab it from here. Yeah.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more.
Okay, fine. I'll poke it first, and then I'll put the substance afterwards.
No reaction.
Okay. I can't agitate it to an
appears
extent
to
with the
open
bug.
after being soaked with alkaloid.
The only way I can agitate it to an extent is if I poke it again.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this...
Okay, so from what I could gather, putting the chemicals on this one and stabbing this one closes this one up. And the caterpillar has no effect on this. Caterpillar seems to have no effect on this. So I just have to switch them out. That's all. Put it over here as far as I can. So no effect of the caterpillar. So this has to be in between. I don't think it will go all the way over here to grab the caterpillar.
It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. This
Let's see what
plant seems to
happens.
have had no reaction from the caterpillars. This plant...
Okay, so that's what's happened when I put the caterpillars on it. No reaction from the caterpillar. So there's a caterpillar on it.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets...
Okay, so... Alright. So, neither of these have a reaction to the caterpillar. But this small cloud was present. The only one that produced a small cloud. This one folded in, this one folded in, no clouds. And this one reacted towards caterpillars.
I find the behavior of predators utterly fascinating.
Yeah, so that's all I could say for right now in regards to what's going on. The only one that makes sense was the form Diabolica. This one does nothing with regards to either the chemical. They both fold in, and I just need to agitate it some more. So maybe I'm supposed to just keep pouring more of this on it. That's the only thing that makes sense.
It appears to open. No reaction.
I'll pour more.
No reaction.
If it shows no reaction when I did it twice, then that means it only needs a certain amount in order to make it get soothed.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of... I wonder what secret...
Okay, so I'm supposed to use it to open it up. And
it appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid.
And then I did no reaction again.
No reaction.
And I can only do it once with this one. It don't allow me to do it twice.
This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid.
Same with this
This
one.
plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid.
And they go back to default afterwards. And so this has been dosed twice. And
This plant seems to have had no reaction from the caterpillars.
and
Toxic gas with spores. Extraordinary. The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions.
But does it really need to be next to the person? I mean, there's a vent there, and it would be able to travel through the vent. Okay, so if we take the vent out of the equation, and we state that the person brought all three of the suspected poisonous plants inside the room with the Continental Room, Mr. Dunn. That person who brought it in there was working on it, or was just bullshitting away, and probably saying something. I'm going to clean this room for you, Mr. Dunn, and so I'm just moving certain things around. Dunn, being a dumbass, probably didn't know that that was the case, what was going on. So he would set it off. He or she would set it off by adding the chemical to the plant. And once the chemical was added to the plant, it then initiated it to open up. But then, based on the experiment, the chemical was then added to another plant, so that plant could attack any outside factors using spikes. But then the little spikes hit the other plant and cause it to erupt spores into the air. That's a lot of work. Someone went through a whole long process to make sure there's enough spores to go into that air, to consistently go into the air just to kill this. And Holmes said the person would have to be at close range for this to happen and to work. So it's less of a vent thing now and more of a person was in the room. Now, I knew there was a person in the room with Dunn when he died. A person pretending to clean. a person that cleaned the window that looked directly across from Hamish's place. And it's more than likely that that person was the one that brought those plants into that room, and then secretly, while the air to become toxic. But then eventually, Mr. Dunn would turn around and say, this person wearing a gas mask, if this is to be done by close range. So he would know something is up, which means he would automatically run to the door to try to get out, which also means that the person, once they went in the room, closed the door from the inside, so Mr. Dunn couldn't get out. He or she would have had to lock it from the outside rather than from the inside, because all he would have to do is to unlock it, then push it open. But then he had to force it open, so it was locked from the outside by this person when they came into the room with him. So I don't know. The vent thing seems to still be in play here. Does it really need to be near the person to go through some air vent and to poison someone? No, not really. They don't need to be near the person, but the game is saying it has to be near the person. So I'm going with it being near the person. Alright. I still think it's Albert, but the game is extremely trying to tell me it's Hamish, and I don't know. I have a feeling that it's not Hamish. Like, at best, the person who I think it is, if it's not Albert, is the girl. Because if it's turned out to be Albert, then I'll knock this game off a point or two. Because he's the most obvious person. So the person I think who's actually the real killer is the girl. But the person I want to be the killer is Albert. Because he's the person that doesn't understand botany at all, while both of the other two do. So it seems very unlikely that you would suspect him. Alright, so let's continue. Okay, so one final talk. I think all my deductions are okay. Okay, so missing deadly plants. That's an assumption that it's the set scheme. It's not a scheme by the cult, because the cult basically said they just wanted to steal, to claim back their plant, which was taken by Dunn. So it's like I said, the theft and the murder are two separate things. So I don't think so. Hell, the Divine Syndicate even admitted to me that that they stole the plants from him, because the plants was actually borrowed by Mr. Dunn from them for his exhibition, but he never returned them. So when they went back to reclaim their stolen plants, they couldn't find it. So what they did instead, they decided to steal other plants, all the plants within the greenhouse, as retaliation. So the killer then took the 3 poisonous plants, used it, killed Mr. Dunn with, and then returned back to the Syndicate's hideout and put it within their locker in order to finger them. So obviously the killer is part of the Syndicate, cult worshipper who's pretending to be a cult worshipper, but probably doesn't give a shit about the syndicate either. Everything points towards this guy, but it's so obvious. So first, I'll talk to him and see what he says, and then the girl. The girl is going to be last, because that's the person I think is actually the killer. But the true killer, who I believe, if things are the way I believe them to be, it could be the son. I mean, I'm trying to think about it in a logical way. Let's say he didn't kill his father because his father was abusive. He hated his father his entire life. He wanted to kill him so badly, but then the moment his father died, he decided not to kill him. Let's go with that. Then that would make sense. But he has so much pent-up anger in him. It says otherwise. And he's the most likely person to not be fingered because he has no understanding of botany or cared. So the most likely two people to do the killing is either Hamish or the girl. But that seems like a huge deviation. Like, this guy had enough time. Let's say he doesn't know botany like these guys, but secretly, let's say he was doing his own stuff away from everyone else when he was not present on the premises, fooling them, making them believe he doesn't understand this stuff. He's not stupid. He went to university, and he has an association with the girl, so the girl probably tell him how to do certain things. So yeah, Albert is not off the hook. He seems less likely, but he definitely is not off the hook at all. Let's see if he answers anything strange about the Divine Syndicate.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The Divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
A well-known syndicate like that, with famous lawyers, doctors, accountants, and all sorts of sponsors and stuff, and you've never heard of them, and they're into a plant god? Yeah, that doesn't smell right.
Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
9:30. Okay. So Holmes was called in to do the case, and he assumed the murder was sometime around midnight. It happened sometime around either 11 p.m. at night or midnight. So he saw them 9:30. Okay. So that doesn't align with the time period for when the death happened, or the stolen stuff happened.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Okay, so the theft happened at midnight. Is that what the game is telling me? 11 p.m. or around midnight. But the death happened in the morning, after 9 o'clock. And he came rushing 10:30. Rushing to Albert 10:30. So a little bit before 10 o'clock did the event happen with regards to his death. So one thing happened at night and the other one happened in the morning. So they didn't happen in conjunction to each other at all. Okay. 10:30, he says.
Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious? Well, I was working in the seed house, taking care of Lysa something, or Lear Pontus, or... No, wait. Ah, these Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes. He came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. Then about 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
Thank you, young. And Mr. Hamish and Miss White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times. I also saw him returning from talking with Miss White, and that was at 10 minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room, and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh, my God.
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
We'll see what she says. What were you doing the day of the death?
Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can, but there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
Everyone's story seems to be aligned pretty well. He's supposed to show up here at 9, but he was 10 minutes late. Time of death.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes. I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11, when I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house. I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing?
I stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
"20 minutes to 11. That doesn't align. Wait, no. If it's 10:30, both. If it's 10:30, Hamish and Albert rush towards the body. "30 to 40, 40 to 50. 1 minute to 11. Yeah, something's off. 10 minutes. If it's 20 minutes to 11, it would be before 10:30. The screams would happen, or should I say it would be before 10:30 that Hamish and Albert would be there. Because Albert says, or Hamish says, he went to Albert, and Albert and him were at the body at 10:30. Which is aligned with the time period for which Albert was speaking. But there's 10 minutes off. There's 10 minutes of that time period off. And he did speak to her at 10 o'clock. So, if he spoke to her at 10 o'clock, John, he then proceeded forward to the colonial room after that. So he would have had to be, if we're talking about, yeah, he would have to be killed exactly around 10:10, if it takes him 10 minutes to walk there. The person would have had to be in the room with him around 10:10. And yeah, it would have to be around 10:10 for which the murder would happen. And then Hamish would rush towards Albert, and then Albert would rush with Hamish to the body at 10:30.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Thank you, miss.
Everyone has gone, Holmes. The way is clear.
So, she finds the name fascinating. Hamish finds the name stupid for the Divine Syndicate, and Albert doesn't even know who it the Divine Syndicate is at all. So her saying that it sounds pretty gives away the clue that she's killer. And Hamish dismissing that their existence also gives hint that he's the killer as well. Albert is the only one off the hook there. Now, her story is off by 10 minutes, and Albert's story is off by, I would say, 20 minutes. Because if you're running from one place to the next, the most it would take them to run from the seed house to here, if they're running, would be 5 minutes. Or 15, he's off by 15 minutes. Like, a man is dying, for Christ's sake. You're not going to walk there. Alright, so let's use the L1. We're doing this again? Sure. Fine, I'm gonna do it. I'll watch the sequence.
No, it wasn't like that.
Let's try this again. Wait, what is he doing?
No, it wasn't like that.
He crashed through the door. Holmes, what are you talking about? Okay, maybe he wants me to stand somewhere. I'll stand from the inside. I'll stand over here and watch it in sequence. There was a table here. In that fire pit, there was no indication of a table that was identified burning in the fire pit. The bus was here, and it would make sense that he would have a statue of himself in here. He was an egotistical man, but why exactly would he have a statue of himself in his own colonial room? Wouldn't he have a statue of himself in a statue room? That's the only thing that doesn't make sense. This is a place where he was doing or checking plants or setting plants or watching plants. Unless there is something that's going on here. He had no intention whatsoever of finding these three things here. The moment he came to work, opened the door and went over to here, he looked to the left and saw a statue here and three plants, for which he probably was saying, what the hell? So the vent was involved in some way, shape or form to push air into the room completely. So I wasn't completely wrong. It's just from what the image is telling me, there was no person in this room with him. But there was someone in another room doing something like they were in this room. So they activated the plant from another room using the vent. But you would have to pour the liquid through the vent to fall on top of the plant. So it was detergent that was used, a chemical detergent poured through here. That's stupid as hell if that's the truth, because they would have to know exactly how to pour it through here and have it fall through here and over here. That will have to be a long hose, a hose that would go through here, for it to be accurate. That means that we have a hose or something. It has to be air. It can't be liquid. I mean, the liquid was used in an experiment to initiate plant so it could open up and spore. So the only thing that would make sense here is that someone gave him a chemical compound to test on the plant, and he, instead of checking to see if that person gave him something bad or not, he just used it like an idiot. But that doesn't make sense. No, this is here for a specific reason, and it opens for a specific reason. So liquid had to have come down through here, fell onto here, and then got onto the floor. But how the hell would they get a hose through here? Or if not, pour water through here and have it fall down here? That's the part that doesn't make sense. If it was air, it's one thing, but to initiate the compound for the spores to go into the air, it requires a liquid to get onto the plant. That's the only part that is bothering me here. Now, from Hamish's window, he would see when he goes over there, and he would initiate, let's say, something through his vent to go directly in here, and that would make sense. So the person would have to be in Hamish's room in order to do it. But I still don't know how they would do it without a hose if it's a liquid, because this is a long pipe, and make sure the liquid goes directly in here and down there without a hose. There would have to be a hose involved. You just can't pour water and expect it to follow where you want it to in the direction, unless the curve of the vent is curved higher from Hamish's room and goes downward in a slope direction through here, for which the design of this vent did not show that. It's a straight vent. So the person would have to pour in a lot of water just to initiate this thing. Yeah, that's the only thing that's throwing me off. The ingenuity of a liquid. If it was air, it would be simple. So let me just do this. 1, 2.
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system.
Yes, it's about time he get towards the vent. We've been waiting the whole time for this dude to get involved with the damn vent.
The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
Okay,
All
so
right, Holmes.
the game is basically telling me that the person already put the liquid on the product, for which it was already open and initiated, and the only thing that would allow for the caterpillars to, for the gas, the spores to go into the air, was for the caterpillars to come through the vent and fall down here, which means the person would have to push the caterpillars through the vent and make sure. See, this is another thing that doesn't make sense. Make sure the caterpillars go in the direction they want it to go in. So the person will have to get on the ladder, or if they're not on the ladder, put their hands up here and make a bunch of caterpillars go into a vent and follow the path of the vent to where they want it to go, which means there would have to be some type of hose regardless for the caterpillars to go in the direction. And we're talking about caterpillars here, not a rabbit. So these things are slow as hell. So the time period for which the caterpillars would take to get from there through a vent all the way over here would have to be, if he was killed at 10:10, they would have to travel for maybe a good 10 minutes before they get over here. They got over here. Because we're talking about extremely small animals. So 5 to 10 minutes, because Dunn was with the girl at 10 o'clock and he died in here before 10:30. So around 10:10 to 10:20. So let's say he got here at 10:10. The person would have to know and put the caterpillars in the vent the moment he started to go back, because he would probably reach the colonial room before the caterpillars got through there. He would have had to put the caterpillars inside of the vent the moment Dunn exited the room with the girl, or he saw him exit the room with the girl. But he would have to see him here if he was looking through there, which is still not enough time to take for the caterpillars to get from here to here. If he's walking slowly, maybe, but we're talking about trying to make caterpillars run here. So he would have had to put the caterpillars inside of the vent while he was speaking to the girl, while Dunn was talking to the girl, and hope that Dunn would get back there in time. Yeah, but that's a gamble. That's why that doesn't seem likely the case. What seemed likely the case, he would have had to seen Dunn coming down this corridor to then put it into the vent. So the only thing off about the whole caterpillars thing is the speed in which the game is assuming a caterpillar would walk and get from one place to another place. So we're talking about caterpillars here. We're not talking about Speedy Gonzales or crickets. Caterpillars. And how would he know how long he would take to speak to the girl in that room? Unless the girl told him, or told whoever killed him, how long she would be talking to him. So that's the only thing that would make sense. A double killing. One Dunn and the girl. Or it's a bold-faced lie. The girl wasn't speaking to Dunn at 10 o'clock. So let's go ahead with this and see what's happening. So either the girl is lying, or Hamish or Albert timed this whole sequence here exactly the moment they saw him. And he claimed he was in the seed room. So that's the weird part. If he said he was in the seed room at around before 10, something like that, he would have been in the seed room with her. Well, she was in the laboratory, the seed room. I don't know. My money's still on Albert. Either on Albert or her. Hamish seems to be too much of a red herring. Why didn't this... Come on, Watson, get out the way.
We have to activate the ventilation system.
Well, I'm trying to, but you're in the way.
The smell is strong. It is a detergent.
Where's wait. Check out that room.
This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system.
Okay, where exactly? Okay, so if this is an outlet, oh, isn't it here? Can I activate it here? I can't activate it here. What the hell, man? Fine. Is it in the seed? If it's in the seed room, then it would be the girl.
From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room.
Okay, so I can't activate it here either. Okay. All right.
The power is on. The power is... The power...
What the hell?
The engine has started. The ventilation system is working.
It's not looking good for Mr. Hamish, but it's not looking good for the girl either. But I keep saying the same thing over and over. Like, it's like the game is trying to not tag Albert.
Now we need to see if we can activate the fans from Mr. Hamish's and Albert's place.
Oh, for Christ's sakes. So I have to go in the room and activate all the fans. Like, for Pete's sakes. Why didn't he just said that before? Activate the fan.
Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let us see if I can activate the other one.
Next thing you know, he go and try to activate the ventilation. The girl starts to feel air coming through the vents. Automatically assume Holmes is up to no good. She's not here though. She would be here.
Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
Good.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace.
Now that
are
makes
possible
sense.
To see when Montague Dunn entered the Colonial Collection Room.
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. Be like, there's no way in hell whether Dunn was in that room talking to that girl for caterpillars, whether he's talking for them long or short period, would be able to get over here from there in time. We're talking caterpillars. Something would have to force them, either by hose or by other means, to get over to this direction. So the person put the caterpillars through the vents, or put the caterpillars up here in advance. After they put the table here, the bus here, and the plant there, they placed it in here, hid it in here, and all they had to do was make sure they turned on the vent. They put enough caterpillars so that no matter what, even if the caterpillar started deviating and going a different direction, they would eventually fall down here. But they would have to make sure the caterpillars don't fall down ahead of time. Otherwise the plan would be ruined. So it seems very likely that they stuck it within the vent all the way over there rather than close here. Or they put it in the vent all the way from over there into that vent shaft and turn on the fans and made sure it goes out in the direction to fall here. So that makes sense. I was wondering what the hell was going on. Caterpillars can't move that fast. And if it was liquid, then they would need a hose in order to do so, to pour the liquid on. But then they would also need the caterpillar to initiate the Venus flytrap to eat the caterpillar so that they could trigger the second plant to shoot out the porcupines and hit the one that does do the spores, because there were three things that were happening. The Venus flytrap one, or the devouring carnivorous one eating the caterpillar. By doing so, the second one shoots out to defend itself, hitting the third one, which is actually the poisonous one. So all three things would have to be in play. The plants, the caterpillars would have to be set on top, and the liquid would have to be placed on the plants in advance. So this was a very, very careful made plan. So it was a difficult one. I think this is the most difficult of all the stories, because it involved two different crimes, theft, and it involved experimentation, and it involved setting up a crime. So this is the most difficult one out of the four. So let's piece the puzzles together. Everything is leaning towards the girl because she understands how to do this mixing stuff, and towards Hamish as well. But based on her description and time period for which Hamish stated when they saw the body, and as well as Albert, it's off in her sense. So either my boy Albert is completely lying, or she's lying. It seems very unlikely that Hamish will kill him. It's too easy with him. Okay, ventilation use. Wait, let me look at the ventilation use again. Yes. I understand, but that doesn't necessarily... I mean, if Hamish was out here working, as he stated, I mean, they could all be lying, but he was out here working like he stated, he wouldn't be in that room. And if she saw him working out here, she would be in his room. And since he's mostly always doing the labor, because he doesn't pay attention to such nonsense as names of silly syndicates and the going-ons of others, it will be very likely that his ignorance will also be more than enough for her to commit a crime. But that goes for Albert as well. So, okay, what we have here. Yes, it's pointing towards Hamish guilt, which is the most obvious thing. It's the most obvious one. It was seen from Hamish's room, and based on this, and it definitely isn't the Divine Syndicate, because they claim they stole only, I mean, they stole all the plants, but the game showed that they didn't steal the specific 3 that they wanted. Divine Syndicate left the plants at Kew Gardens in order to murder at a later date. Now we know the Divine Syndicate didn't murder anyone, so this was the correct one. Wait a minute. So this is correct, because there's no second options. This is correct. This is correct. Wait, what are you doing? This is correct. And this is correct. Yeah, so it would point to Hamish as being guilty because it's his room that's across from there. And Hamish's opportunity, he did see this, so that also makes sense. But affect the rest of... No, I'm not arresting him. There are things that are not 100% resolved, as the game has shown me that there's no huge yellow spot, because if Hamish was guilty, it would say Hamish is the murderer, but it has not done that. So if I go ahead and arrest him, I'm basically claiming the results of the game in advance. I'll speak to the others.
Let's go to Scotland Yard.
I wonder if Albert will speak to me again. Or the girl. So I'm sure Sherlock is trying to set up a trap for Hamish by going to Scotland Yard. And they're not present here because they left for the day, so I can't question them. They all left for the day, so no one's present here. Yes, but why would it be doing that? That's the strange part. These are obviously, okay, Albert's ambition. See, these aren't related to each other. Wait, hold on. Albert is not very good at botany. It's doubtful that he could have learned how to plant might release their deadly ones. That's true. Studies of it. He had the knowledge, but it's unlikely that he would be able to learn how to do it that quickly, so fast. But he has the knowledge. That doesn't necessarily mean if he wanted to kill someone, he would study how to kill someone, whether he's into something or not. So I'll go with this for right now and see what happens. Yep. But then it automatically cross out Hamish as an opportunity. So I'll leave that exactly the way it is for the moment. Okay, so to stimulate deadly plants, she has the botanical knowledge to stimulate deadly plants, and I'm gonna put him also as the ability to stimulate deadly plants. Just because he's the least likely does not mean that he doesn't have such said knowledge. All clues available. Wait, there are no clues available at the moment. We continue with the investigation. So it is basically saying there are more clues to be given. So this is a bit more complicated one. There's much more I need to know. I can't make a final decision with this. So I'm going to go to Scotland Yard and see what Lestrade has to say once he arrests Hamish, and what Hamish would say. I will question him in the investigation room.
I must admit, it would be rather unusual to use a poisonous plant as a murder weapon.
Lestrade, open up.
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it. I'll send the lads around to arrest him.
Very good. I shall wait to hear from you.
Now, it makes sense that Holmes would believe this, because everything from the beginning of the game points towards him. So it's the most obvious decision. But the game isn't over yet.
Inspector, I came here as quickly as I could.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
Okay, so I'm going to go inside.
Holmes, my God!
Booyah!
We found him like that.
Our messing around with the ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Inspector, could you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it.
Booyah! Magheed for the win. Too clean, too neat, too tidy, too obvious, too easy. The moment he turned on those ventilations, I said it before, I guaranteed Albert, or especially the woman, knew something was up the moment Holmes turned on that ventilation. So they could have done one or two things: peaced out and never to return, which would solidify their guilt, or the person who they were suspecting or they planted to be the killer was then discovered to be identified as the killer. Well, actually, no. Why would they want to kill Hamish if we were going to arrest him for murder? That seems unlikely. It would be best in the interest of the killer to actually leave him alive. So that is kind of off. Huh. That is very peculiar. I mean, it's not peculiar to me because I knew he was a red herring. But it's peculiar for the actions of the murderer to kill someone who could easily have been fingered and gone to jail. They would have been scot-free. There would have been no need to kill him. The only reason that would make sense to kill him would be if, as I said before, it was two people working together. One, the killer, and two, the killer's accomplice. This game seems to be loving the whole thing of accomplices. Same as in the Black Peter. Same as in Bloodbath. Well, actually, no. Bloodbath was the only one where there was a single person. Same as in Abbey Grange. So there might be two people involved in this. Or, I don't think they're so. See, that's what the game wants you to believe. Two people are involved. I believe Mr. Hamish knew something and they killed him. Or he was involved somehow and they killed him. He was involuntary associate of the situation, but he wasn't directly involved in anything. He probably caught said person doing something suspicious and said person killed him in the process. That's the most logical thing for me right now. Him relating to being related to the girl, being the brother of her, I'm assuming, because she's also a Hamish. But she goes by the name White, but she's related to Hamish here. If this is not her brother, it's her cousin. So if they didn't plan things together, then she did it all by herself. That's the way it seems. But once again, the most obvious is present. It's Albert. Because the two extremes are present here. Both are people who have been shown within evidence to have extreme hatred towards Mr. Dunn. The girl hates to be poor, sweet talk Albert, and then he threw her to the side once he really realized he didn't need her anymore, and thus she would have to find, or she threw him to the side, realized she doesn't need him anymore after she acquired enough money from him. Plus she has a lot of knowledge of botany just like him. So the two most obvious people you'll be believed to be the killer are the ones are least likely the killer. But if it does turn out to be her, I still win. I still win. Because from the beginning of the game, I was saying, I want to see a female killer. I've been playing 5 stories so far, and there's no female killer. So if I turn out wrong, I still win. Because I get what I want. I mean, I want it to be Albert, but if it's her, which will make sense, that I believe that it was her before I believe it was Hamish, I still get what I want. Since the beginning of the game, I wanted to see a female killer. In most of Sherlock Holmes stories in the books, there was always some dude. Most of them.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case.
A club foot? I don't know what that is, but I'm just going to play the game and move forward. My guess is the girl, but who I want to be the killer is Albert. I guess the girl, from the moment she was introduced and the moment I saw her, like, nope, you're the killer. I don't want you to be. I want Albert to be. Because it'll be more of a challenge if it's Albert. But yeah, it was her. I knew Hamish was red herring. I just wanted to see how the game was going to go, and I was going to take 2 points off from the game if it turned out to be Hamish. So thankfully it didn't go that route. Clubfoot, Hamish. Okay. Martin Hamish was unable to run due to the clubfoot. Therefore, he could. Okay, so this is the only part in the game I would say truly stumbled me, because it has just introduced itself at this very moment, in this very instant. At no point during Sir Sherlock Holmes' whole body analysis did he ever look at the foot. That's a fuck up on the part of the people who made the game, because he was supposed to analyze this person's entire body anatomy, but he did not do so. So the foot was missed by Sherlock Holmes because the people who made the game wanted it to be missed, and they wanted to throw it at the end. So that's a huge screw up by the people who made the game. Okay. What else? I know someone would probably say it's not a screw up and stuff, but it is. Like when he does his body analysis here, when he's looking at a person visually of their body.
The mark around the neck is very visible. He died instantly.
He looked at every aspect of their body, and then he makes a guess with regards to what they were doing, where they come from, that sort of thing. At no point did he ever look towards the feet of the person, because it was never intended for me, the player, to look at the feet. That was a design choice by the people who made the game, which is contradicts Sherlock Holmes' existence, limiting him to actually look at the full profile of the person. So that's bad.
What should we do next, Holmes?
Alright, Lestrade.
Something about this rings very oddly.
Why do you say that, Mr. Holmes?
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
Yes,
Mr.
Holmes, you should have noticed it.
I can't see why.
And you know why?
No, I don't suppose you do.
Because the damn people who made the game didn't do you justice. So I'm taking 1 point off for that. That's bullshit.
If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not occurred to me, Mr. Holmes.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
They're going to use the Ripper
Let us
timeline?
analyze the facts and statements, so
Okay.
that we may recreate the events of that morning.
I never read that one, so I don't know anything about the Jack the Ripper story. Okay, so let's try our timeline in which everyone was talking. See, this is difficult because now I have to remember exact time. Now I know everyone was on site around 9 o'clock doing their job. So let's see. At 20 minutes before 11, 10:40, 50, 60, you would be here. Can I move her? How do I do this? Play event. L2. The hell? Okay, see, laboratory. She was in the laboratory. Okay, so the seed room wasn't the laboratory. Okay, so his statement, he was in the seed room. The time he stated he was in the seed room, which was, I don't remember. I know said she was in there around 10. Mr. Dunn visit her at 10. Can I? How does this work? Play events. Or do I just press R2 and? Wait, that's bullshit. Go back. Martin and Hamish Monica were done went to meet Albert in the seed room at around half past 9. Wait a minute. Okay, so the path he took was from the laboratory. But so he went past the laboratory, but he didn't go to see, from her words, she came and meet him at 10, but from this image path, from the director's office, which is next to the laboratory, he didn't stop by to speak to her before then. He went straight towards Hamish. Wait, no. Hold on. Put it back. Okay. Miss White is talking with Mr. Hamish in the laboratory. Where's White? Where is she again? Miss White joined Hamish and Albert in the water lily greenhouse. Okay. Hamish returned. Albert saw Hamish returning from visiting Miss White. Where is Mr. Dunn visiting Miss White? Where's that one? Oh, it's not here, is it? Montague, Dunn, and Hamish go into backyard. Alright, so I don't know what's going on with this game. Okay, it's not accounted for the time period for what she says. 20 minutes before 11, she heard screams or something like that. So that would be around 10:40. But 10:30 is stated Albert and who? Where is he? Albert saw Hamish returning. Where's Albert and Hamish? Albert meets Montague and Hamish at the seed house. Mother, Hamish returned to Seed House. Once good done is in the trial. Okay, so she joined them in the greenhouse. Let's say she joined them at around 10:30, but their story didn't include her joining them at that greenhouse. It only said Albert and him were at the greenhouse at 10:30. Alright, so I'll put her at 10:30. I'll put them all at 10:30 because Dunn is poisoned. Let's say he was poisoned around 10 o'clock. Alright. He's poisoned around 10:10. That's the time for which I said he visited the girl around 10 o'clock, for which he said she visited him at 10, for which it's not here at all. So that's missing. Did she say anything about talking with him? I don't remember. That means what you have done. But he was in the Seed House. Returning, visiting Miss White. Wait. Where's Wait? Okay, so this happened before this. I'm pretty sure Miss White said Dunn visited her at 10, not Hamish. Hold on. That's probably wrong. Alright, so I'm just piecing stuff together without reading the contents here. Alright, let's go down to the bottom. I was in the seed room the entire morning. He observed Hamish returning from visiting Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. 10 minutes past 10. He observed Hamish at 10 minutes past 10. If Albert was talking to White in the laboratory, then Dunn was also in the laboratory with Hamish and Miss White. So he saw Hamish returning from visiting Miss White 10 minutes to 10. So that means Hamish stayed with Miss White past 10 minutes to 10. Otherwise, you would have seen Hamish and Albert returning. So he stayed there past that 10 minutes. Okay. 10 minutes to 10. Yeah, something doesn't add up. because this wouldn't make sense if he is talking to her around, what she's saying, he was talking to Dunn around 10 o'clock. It would take him time to get from the laboratory to the colonial room, which at minimum it would be 10 minutes, because everything goes every 10 minutes. So this would be here. So if he was returning from speaking with White in the seed room, then he couldn't have been still talking to the girl past 10 o'clock. In fact, he could have been talking to her at 10 o'clock if he was in the seed room being poisoned at this time. No, I would say he was poisoned at 10:20 and he left at 10:10. So I was off by 10 minutes because they rushed into Albert and Hamish rushed in to see the body around 10:30. Soon as he observed that Montague Dunn was unwell, which was at 10:30. Yeah, so he was poisoned around 10:20 and they saw the body around 10:30. Yeah, okay. Albert meets Dunn. Wait. Albert was in the seed house the entire time. Okay, so Montague and Albert met him in was live. Yeah. Say he was still talking to the, if he was talking to the girl at this time period, it would have been. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Albert. Wait, hold on. Put it back. Okay. So all three were together. Then he saw returning from the house. Yeah. At the laboratory. I should really pay attention to this right here. I'm just guesstimating things on my own. Alright, Martin had a conversation with Miss White at 10 o'clock. Okay, if he had a conversation with Miss White at 10 o'clock, Dunn was in the room, in that laboratory too, at 10 o'clock. Dunn is also present there. Yeah, so this Dunn was present here talking to him, and then he left, returns from talking to her at 10:10. So he was there for a good 10 minutes still speaking to her, and then he returned here. It was around 20 minutes to 10. $10:40. Okay. It was around 20 minutes. Wait, what? It was around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague Dunn went out to the backyard. Okay, so 40, they were in the backyard. No. He returns to the seed house. Okay, let's see here. All seed house together with them. So Albert meets Montague and Martha at the seed house. Wait, hold on. Tropics. If Montague Dunn is in the dry tropics, what meets Montague at the seed house? But he has to travel through the library to get to the seed house. Yeah, these two are converging. So, I am return. Something is off here. I know for a fact that she said she was talking to Dunn at 10 o'clock. And I know from that time period, he could have been returning to his place. And Dunn poisoned during this time period. And around 10:30 they saw the body. And they all went there to the greenhouse. Returned to the seed house. But there's nothing that says he returned to seed house. So went to meet in the seed house at around 10:30. Is that 10:30 or 9:30? Why did it underline it like that? Alright, so I'm going to put it 9:30. So dry tropics cannot be there. That can't be there. Where would Dunn be during this process? Let's say Montague and Dunn and Amish. Oh, in the backyard. And Albert saw Hamish returning. Visiting Miss White. Okay, so after they had the conversation, he went out to Dry Tropics room while he was returning from visiting Miss White. Okay, so he would be around 10 o'clock. He returns after talking with Miss White. Returns to seed room. Seed room. Seed room is here. He returns to seed room. So he returns to his station. Oh, okay. There it is. At around 9:30. Okay, so that's true. And 20. It's around 20 minutes to 10. And that's, yeah. Be right. Done in dry tropics is the only one that's off. But he couldn't. But he could be here while it was also here. So I'll leave this as it is. Okay, but it wants me to consider what other times are present here. Okay, visiting is right. 10 minutes past 10. 10 minutes past 10 has been considered. Albert, 10 minutes past 10. But I haven't placed it here. Albert. Okay, so he was over 10 minutes past. Okay, 10 minutes past 10. Return to Seat House. And 10 minutes past 10, Albert's in the Seat House. Saw Hamish returning, visiting Miss White. Okay, so he's returning from visiting Miss White 10 minutes past 10. Returning to the Seat House. So 10 minutes past 10, return from there. Okay. I placed that correctly. Hamish ran to Albert as soon as he observed what he was doing, which was around 10:30. None of the image shows state anything about him running to 10:30. Well, Miss White she joins Hamish and Albert at the, okay, she joins them. So even though him and Albert was here at 10, she joins them around 10:40, I'm assuming. But she did say around 20 minutes before 11, she heard her screaming. So 20 minutes before 11 would be around 10:30. And she would be able to join them around 10:40 at the Water Lily place. So, yeah. I think this is mostly accurate. Yeah. Yeah, that pans out. Okay. Wait, dry tropics. Oh, wait a minute. Doing recommended is inspection. After 10 minutes, Dawn recommence his inspection and enter the dry tropic room. After 10 minutes, around 20 minutes to 10, Hamish and Montague went to the backyard. So here, after 10 minutes, he was dry tropics, which is correct. Hamish has a conversation with Miss White around 10 o'clock. But strange with her little conversation, she said Dunn was talking to her at around 10. So he left Dry Tropics and visited them at around 10. Okay. Yeah, I think this is it. The murder happened here. I mean, he died here. Okay, that's the event timeline. So everything seems to be in place. Everything based on what was said anyway. So, one final go over. Marjorie, Hamish, and Dunn went to meet Albert in the Seed House at around 9:30. Okay, 9:30 would be this. Let me Dunn and Martin Seed House. Correct. It was around 20 minutes past 10. Montague went back at it. So, 20 minutes past. It was around 20 minutes to 10. 20 minutes to 10. So here, after 10 minutes passed. Wait, after 20 minutes, yeah. Dunn recommends inspection in dry tropics, so he went here. And Martin Hamish had a conversation with Mike at 10 o'clock here. And Smite was in the laboratory until 10:40. Joined Hamish at the. She was in dry tropics until 10:40. Okay, so she was here. Joins Hamish at the water. So she couldn't have joined Hamish until 10:40. So until 10:40, she was there the whole time. So at 10:40, she would be here. When she saw Hamish and Albert in the Waterloo greenhouse and joined them there. So that's there. Hamish ran to Albert as soon as he observed that Montague Dunn was unwell, which was at around 10:30. It doesn't have anything that says Hamish ran to Albert around 10:30. Okay, that's fine. And then finally, Albert was in the seed room the entire morning. So Albert was okay. Albert was in the scene. He observed Hamish returning from visiting Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. So 10 minutes. 10. Wait. Visiting Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. So not before 10. 10 minutes past 10. No, not him. Not Albert. Him. Talking with mice 10 minutes past 10. So he observed him 10 minutes past 10. So Hamish returned to Seed House. Returns to Seed House. So he goes to the Seed House. Returns to the Seed House. So he had a conversation with Dunn in the backyard. Then he returns to the Seed House after having a conversation with him. And then he left the Seed House and returns after talking to Miss White. So if he's having a conversation with Miss White around 10 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, then he, wait, does it say anything here about having a conversation? I had a conversation with my, okay, yeah, so this is off. Returns to the Seed House. Sure. Observers are returning, visiting Miss White 10 minutes. So this and this is true, and this is off. Returns to see it. Returns. 10 minutes. 10 minutes done. Okay, that's the only thing that makes sense directly after. Because doesn't wait. They both have a conversation within the backyard. Then he returns and he goes to the dry tropics while he returns to the seed room. Okay. It's a bit of a tricky one, but I think this is it. Or at least the end. Yeah. Why did it stop there? Play all the way through. Actually, you know what? Let me... play sequence. Albert was in the seed house the entire morning. Okay. So this is the only thing that makes sense. Okay. Albert was in the seed house the entire morning. So if the spores or whatever was placed inside of the colonial place around 10 o'clock, it wasn't, could have been done by him, but he would have to put it here around 10 and then return after talking to Miss White at around 10, I'm assuming. Yeah, at around 10. So they're talking around 10. So this time period, he's talking the whole time with her, and then 10 minutes after. So it would be hard for him to put something in that room while he's being occupied around 10:50, because he would have to be in the colonial room at 10:10. So the person would have to put it here around 10 o'clock. So it would seem that they schemed around 10 o'clock. Yeah, it would. That's what it's trying to tell me. He was locked in here the whole time. He was here during that time. He was here during that time. The only person that wasn't here during that time was her. So either it was placed during this time period around 9:50 or around... No, it couldn't be 10 o'clock because then they're talking. Yeah. So everyone was doing something at a certain time. So these three were doing something here. So the only person that was hardly doing anything whatsoever at all was her. So she would have time to put something here, have a conversation with him. He would then return to, after speaking with her, around 10:10. It was around this time period that he would, he could have initiated the spores to go here and kill them, but that could be the same for her. Out of everyone, she has the most spaced time to do whatever she wanted. So yeah, I'm gonna go with my gut and say that's exactly what I'm going for. So I'm gonna accept this one. But wait a minute. Typically when you solve something, it would say you solved it. So I shouldn't have to skip it. So something is off, I guess. Okay. So, yeah. No. It's here. Not in the colonial room. Wait a minute. Hold on. If he collapsed at 10:30, what the hell is the game doing? It keeps stopping there. Yeah, there's something off about what's going on here. Because if you're having a conversation, talking to her in the laboratory and saw him returning from, it would be here. And this makes sense. He talked to her and then he returned here. He was inside of the seated room the entire morning. The only, okay. Seated room stops here. I wonder, maybe it has to do with my my cursor pointing towards the object. No, it doesn't have to do with the cursor. If he saw Hamish returning from talking, and he saw her returning from talk, so it would. Returns after talking. You would have to see them returning. Yeah, but he didn't get to the colonial room yet. This is what it's trying to tell me. So these two don't match up. That's what it's saying. Saw returning from. But this says Hamish returns after talking, so he returns back to his room after speaking to her. Seeing him returning, saw Hamish returning from visiting. Okay, he returns and seeing him returns could be the same thing. While he's seeing him, he returns. There you go. There you go. There you go. Because
Let
see,
us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10.
Yep,
This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room.
this is correct.
Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful.
Yep.
Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room,
That's
which is
correct.
quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door.
That's
More
correct.
than enough time.
That's what the game is trying to tell me.
Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
Well, it would be elementary, my dear Watson. The most obvious person is the person that had more than enough time to put everything together and have time enough to spare, and that would be the girl. But we're talking about someone who hated his father at the same time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Albert. Like I said, the person I want is Albert, but the most obvious and common sense choice is the girl. I never thought Hamish was the red herring to begin with. I mean, was the killer to begin with. If anything, he could have been a stooge, used just like Dunn was used by the girl, so she could acquire. So the woman, basically, the game is saying the woman is clever for trying to outsmart Dunn by getting money out of him, and she's intelligent, know how to mix chemicals together. So it's more than likely that she is the killer. She's clever enough to set up someone and to use them at the same time. But would she, here's the thing, would she has the cojones to kill a family member? Because she is related to him in some ways, cousins or brother or something. That seems unlikely. That's why I'm leaning towards my Albert thing. Like, unless she doesn't give a shit about her own family, which in her letter she says she hates being poor, but being poor, does that mean that she would straight out murder her own family member just to be a rich person? She would straight up be evil if that's the case. That seems a bit extreme. That's why I'm still leaning towards Albert. But if it does turn out to be her, then it means she's butt crack evil. Which was the one the game was leaning towards, not from the beginning, but the one that made most sense with regards to the logic of a corrupt criminal who kills from a distance. A person that keeps the cool head, so on and so forth, where Hamish doesn't keep a cool head. So I'm going to go with the girl as the killer, because that's what the game is leading towards, even though the game was trying to fool me with Hamish, which it didn't do so. But the person I want to be the killer, because everything makes sense in his direction. And logically, a nice little twist is Albert. So, we'll see. Albert's timeline. So he had, actually, let me go back. 1 second. Let me look at that map again. So this is him, and across from here is a nursery where we'll be able to see into the colonial place. So this is where Martin was. So he would take 10 minutes to walk over here, initiate the fan to make the bugs go in here. Makes sense. Person closer than that or equally distance is nurse. She will only need also 10 minutes, but she has an additional 10 minutes, which means she would have the ability to go and close the door, come back here, go in here, and turn it on, where he might just have 10 minutes to just turn it on, but not enough time to close the door. Huh. We'll see. I don't mind whichever one is the killer, to be honest with you. They both seem like schemers to me, but it seems too clean. That is the girl. It's trying so hard for it not to be the guy. Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing?
Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
Okay, so White's timeline stayed on it. Okay, I can't put these together. Actually, I can. I could put both of them together, but look, it says this and this is most likely the case. Her and Hamish planned to kill Mr. Dunn. They are related to each other. They both hate him in some way or some fashion. But would she go out straight and murder the dude of her own family? That seems very extreme. I don't know. It would seem highly likely that she would be able to convince Albert more than it was to... actually, no. She would be able to convince Hamish quite easily to kill Dunn. But would she straight up murder her own relative to cover her own ass? I guess. She doesn't want to go to jail. That makes sense. So, either case, whoever wins, I still win. No matter what. Because I do want her to win. Wait, what? Okay. Now I'm keeping to who I want. I'm gonna talk and see what I could dig up. Determine the identity of my accomplice. And okay, so it's forcing me to pick someone. It's forcing me to pick someone. So I gotta pick someone. Fine, I'm gonna pick someone. I picked the girl. The game locked them together, so I'll pick Hamish and the girl, not Hamish and Albert. And let's see what it says here. Miss White had 20 minutes. It would have been enough time to trap the Dunn. She could have locked the door and alerted. This is true. And Hamish to activate the ventilation. This is also true. White is not involved. Mortar, Hamish, and Miss White are not accomplices. It is unlikely that White would have had the opportunity and 20 minutes would have not been enough to lock the door. Bullshit. That's some bullshit right there. 20 minutes is more than enough time. Alright, what other clues? Albert and Hamish, which... let's see what this one will say. Albert had time. Albert was Metrorac's accomplice. 20 minutes would have been enough for him to follow Montague Dunn and lock the door in order that I might activate the ventilation. Well, they both hated the father. Another group of people who hated the father. So, yep. They both hated the father. Out of everyone who hated the father the most, I would say the son hated the father the most because he was an abusive person to his son, verbally and probably physically. Second in that will be Hamish. And third from that would be the girl. The girl didn't really hate him until he stopped giving her money and stuff. She actually liked him. So the two people who hated him the most would be Albert and Hamish. The girl only started to dislike him thereafter once he wanted to fire her and stuff. So I got everything, I believe. Yep, I found all the clues, so all that's left now is to put pieces together. White have time. Okay, so yes, White's knowledge. Yes, that's also true. Albert's studies. I would say Albert doesn't have the experience with regards to this, but I picked this because I want it to be pulled from under the rug. A surprise. Hamish. Okay, so this is staying as it is. You can't pick something else with this one. So the only thing left is the decision of Albert is not involved. Martin and Albert are not accomplices. It's unlikely Albert would have the opportunity and 20 minutes. No, opportunity of and 10 minutes would have not been enough time to lock the door of the corner. Well, 10 minutes is enough time to lock the door, but not to turn on the fan. The opportunity is unlikely Albert would have had the opportunity, and 10 minutes would have not been enough to lock the door. Well, 10 minutes is enough to lock the door, but not to turn on the fan. Okay. Alright, so I have to go with this. It makes sense. But if I pick this, then something is off here. Albert is not involved. But he does have enough time to do so. Hamish opportunity. So this will stay as is regardless. I believe she is involved. No, she has the most amount of time than anyone else. She had a full 20 minutes. And she does have knowledge. The knowledge might acquire at the university might not be enough. Oh, wait. The knowledge Miss White acquired at the university might not be enough to guarantee the correct reaction of deadly plants. True. Because she went to the syndicate, the Divine Syndicate, to do experimentations, not at the college. So the only thing off is Albert. And this one. This is mostly true. To say White is not involved. Likely that White would have the opportunity. No, she has the most amount of time out of everyone. She has 20 minutes. 20. So that is also true. So I have to switch to this. Alright. White is an accomplice. Alright, so it's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense. I really want my boy to be a murderer. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try for my boy first. I'm going to try for my boy first. I'm going to try for him first. I know it's the girl, but I'm going to try for him first. Let's dance. Let's see what the game says. I know me picking him is what I want, but I know it's most likely the girl. It was never Hamish. I never thought it was, Inspector? To begin with.
It's all over now, lad. There is no use denying it. We know that you murdered your father. Patricide by plant poisoning. Very alliterative.
What? You're mad. I didn't do it. I don't know anything about botany. No!
And there you have it, the lamest ending of them all. The one I wanted is the obviously the one that I wanted. Doesn't mean it's the right one, but it's the one I wanted. I wanted to see what he was going to say. Was his behavior going to change, or was the game, the people who made the game, solidify that he would admit that he knows nothing about it? So I already knew he knows nothing about it, but I wanted to see what he was going to say. So I already know who was always going to be the killer. I just needed to see what he was going to say, and hopefully the people who made the game would reward me with saying, hey, the person who you suspected was actually the killer, because it's typically not the norm for it to happen. So it was a clever thing. So I was hoping that he tried to kill his father by doing the opposite of what everyone would believe him to do, which is he would study up real hard on how to mix things and set it up, because then no one would see it coming, because it would take a lot of time to know how to do that. So, but the game is going down the obvious easy route, not the complicated route. So I'm gonna pick the real killer now. And for once, this is the first time I'm actually victorious on both not picking the right person and picking the right person. Because I picked the wrong person, which was Albert. But I don't care, because I wanted it to be the girl. Because I wanted a female killer from the beginning. So I got what I wanted. I got you, bitch. I got you. So I won. I'm very happy. The person I really wanted was to be Albert, but secretly I wanted her to be the person. Either way, I would have won. I would have won. Well, let's see. Let me go back to it. Time for you to get what's coming to you. I feel very happy. I was getting really upset about the game. Like, how come in every one of these missions there's no female? I was hoping once I saw Abby Grange and I saw the girl there, I thought she was going to be the killer. She was involved, and in some ways she is the killer. But she's not the killer. She's just an accomplice to a crime. But she was indirectly the killer. In many ways, you can say she is actually the killer too, because she sent for the sailor because she got tired of getting her ass kicked by her husband, and then he got into an argument with her about why are you still with this man. He turned out being there, put his hand on her, sailor killed him, blah blah blah. Then she tried to cover it up. So involuntarily, or in maybe somewhat voluntarily, she kind of killed him without truly wanting to kill them. So, but that's not a direct killing. This one is. So that's why I'm happy.
But Holmes,
I win.
How can you be certain that we'll find Miss White here?
It is obvious, Watson. Just use your brain.
I am using it. I do use it.
Now that the rope has tightened around Martin Hamish, Miss White must act to erase all traces of her implication. After the suicide of her accomplice, there is one final trace remaining: the deadly plants of the Divine Syndicate. She will be there.
Very good. Shall we go?
Just one moment. Now listen to me, Watson. I shall see her alone.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful when your deductions come to fruition and everything you thought was right. It's like I knew in some ways this Divine Syndicate, the moment I learned of them, the person most likely to be associated with this cult was her. Because of finances and other things.
Behind her, quietly.
Whatever are you planning?
Nothing spectacular. The impulses of women have always been a mystery to me. but she is a bold one, and so we must be cautious.
Yeah, she's very bold, because she disappears just like Mr. Dunn. She disappeared like Mr. Dunn for time periods on a time. She even admits it.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised, Miss White.
Well, I was expecting you.
Not for too long, I believe. So please tell me, as it is still unclear, who planned the murder? Was it you?
You were wrong, Mr. Holmes.
It was Martin Hamish, then. You managed to convince him to take on a more prominent role.
You could not be further from the truth.
You think that you can fool me?
You don't care what I think.
It is difficult to care about someone who is capable of pushing a man to his suicide. It is over, Miss White. The police will be here any minute.
Over? Perhaps. One moment you were here, and the next, you were on the other side.
The other side? No! Stop! I beg you not to do this, Miss White.
Don't come any closer.
Please remain calm. We can help you.
Not one step further. Don't try to stop me.
Stop this foolishness. You cannot truly want to die.
No, it's too late.
What? Kiss my ass. This keeps happening. Like, how fast am I supposed to be? Oh my God.
Are you able to do anything?
I'm afraid.
How fast am I supposed to go, for crying out loud? Let's try this again. This keeps happening in every one of these situations, these QTEs. I'm supposed to go ridiculously fast. This is the most exciting one out of the pair, because she's openly admitting that she's the criminal without admitting she's the criminal. And she's very bold. Even when caught, she wasn't scared to either kill or to kill herself. Her behavior was, here's the best part about it, why I kind of knew from the beginning that it was her. This is the best part and the most interesting part. Also, when I was spotlighting things, her eyes flutter a lot when she was talking to Holmes, and she almost had like a sheepish smile on her face when she was talking to Holmes. Very calm, as if she didn't mind that she would be caught. She was very entertained by the prospects of my questions. That's why I believe it was her, even though the red herring was plain and obvious, which is Mr. Hamish, and even though the person I wanted, Albert, was also present and could have been the killer. But her behavior was very obvious from the beginning. Devious behavior. And since she manipulated her parents, or should I say since she manipulated Dunn, and then since she hated being poor, and she used the syndicate, she's a user type. She's not afraid to die or to kill, using other people to do it. So, yeah, she is a straight up evil person. So, I win. I got what I want. So let's try this again. Hopefully I don't make a mistake. There is yet another story. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. There's still another story. One last story. I wonder, would I be able to finish it today? I mean, today is the 30th. Today is the giveaway in Warframe, and it's around 9:30. I don't have time for this. So this story will have to be the end, and the remaining of today would have to be for me farming before the giveaway.
How can you be certain that we'll find Miss White here?
It is obvious, Watson. Just use your brain.
Alright, let's skip.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised.
It's also
Miss
her
White.
voice as well.
Well, I was expecting you.
Her voice is
Not
very
for
playful.
Too long, I believe. So please tell me, as it is still unclear, who planned the murder? Was it you?
You were wrong.
No.
You don't...
Come on.
It is over, Miss White.
I'm gonna
The
auto
police
this
will
one.
be here
I'm
any
not
minute.
interested in
Over.
QTing
Perhaps.
a mistake again.
One moment you were here.
The other... Well done, Watson. She was not faking.
Miss White, you have no right to take your own life.
Dr. Watson? Did you just save me? Or worse?
He didn't save you, baby. He didn't save you at all. You're gonna get the noose. The noose for you. That's why she says, or worse. Be like, no, she wanted to take the easy way out. It's like, no. She is straight up evil person. After she committed a crime, she thought the only way to escape from persecution is to off herself. No. If the best thing I want for her is to rot in prison, I don't really want her to get the news. I want her to rot in prison. That's what I want. And then afterwards, then I want her to be 86th. No. Because here's what I'm thinking. Actually, I don't want that either. Like, if they give her the news, fine. But I prefer prison. But this is why I'm so prejudiced against, or not prejudiced, but so, hoping that she gets what's coming to her. Like, she's what you would call a devil in human flesh. She represents all the natures of human characteristics and all the innocence of a human characteristics in one bottle. Whereas she doesn't see herself as the bad guy. She sees herself as just a survivalist. A person doing what she has to do to survive. So what she's doing is not bad from her point of view. What she's doing is just what she has to do in order to get by in life. However, that's not how life works. No matter how bad things get, the moment you decide to destroy someone else's life in order for your life to be either eased or to get better, you already put that hangman's noose around your neck. So it's only a matter for you to decide how you're going to remove the noose from your neck by making up for it. But she doesn't make up for it. She wanted to take an escape route out by killing herself. That's what solidifies her as a devil. Because even in death, she had no intentions of giving up or losing to anyone. So yeah, I accept this. This is good. This is actually very good. Because I was getting angry that there would be no female antagonist in the story. And I was like, oh man, this is pissing me off. We're like, are all these stories going to be about dudes? We're like, man. And turns out the best story was the chick. However, not really. Now that I think about it, her story of who she is, it's completely stupid. The story of the Kew Gardens incident, the Kew Gardens drama, is very good. Her involvement in the story is not good. Hamish's involvement in the story is better than hers. Albert's is also better than hers due to his upbringing from a child, involvement with the father, wanting to join the Navy and so on. She showed up after both of them, and she has less reasons to want to kill him because she was like sugar daddy. He was like a sugar daddy to her, and the only reason she would want to kill him is after she lose the money, because she doesn't want to become poor again. So her story, the only thing complicated about her story is the poverty part and attachment to a family that's not rich. That's all. She's a selfish, greedy, manipulative person. So she represents all facets of sin in a person. But so did all the other two. So did Albert, and so did Hamish. The only difference that makes her the devil is that she was willing to, without remorse, take the life of others and her life at the same time. So she wasn't afraid of killing. She was just afraid of losing. That's what makes her a devil. If I lose, then I lose the thing that I need and I want. I need to be rich. I need to escape. I need to not be persecuted. So, yeah, she's a devil, basically. The worst of all the other people in the game so far. Yes, the murder of Black Carrie was done by a guy who was vile, who wanted to another man's wife. But he had the cojones to do that himself, or with the kid. She also had the cojones to do it herself, but she got other people involved and sat on the sidelines and watched it from the hands of someone else doing it for her. So she's kind of like a Moriarty. That's why I like this. She would be a Moriarty type, but a worse version of Moriarty. One that's not smart enough to realize the true villain of Sherlock Holmes, a true arch villain, Nemesis, would not take his life. That's what makes her a failed Moriarty. That's what I would call her. A failed Moriarty. A true Moriarty would never take his life. So she's a failed version of what Moriarty would be. So that's it for this. I'm out. I got to eat something and then I'll farm a bit for Warframe and then I'll do the giveaway with them. I probably won't go live with that because there's no need to. But the following day, which will probably be July 1st, if I'm not busy, July 1st, July 2nd, the final story should be coming to an end. Very much so. I like this one. This might be my best one. So I was at a 8.1. I dropped it 1 point for the bullshit of Hamish's whole stomp on the leg and Holmes not being able to identify the stomp until afterwards. So I got it back down to 8.1, and now I'm going to give it, because I won on both counts, even though I lost, but I also won. The girl, 2 points for the girl. Turns out I got what I wanted. And then 1 point for Albert, because I knew it wasn't Hamish. It could have been either Albert or the girl. Turns out it was a girl. So the story was quite good and went the way I wanted to. Not her story, but the overall story. And putting the pieces together with regards to timelines, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, how you remember certain times and certain things happening. You could not have remembered all those things unless you wrote them down or you have good memory. Thankfully, I wrote some of them down, but the others I have to remember. So it took me a while, because I was going mostly on memory, not on what I wrote down. The only thing that I wrote down were the spotlight stuff. So I tagged her as the unknown most than anything else, and Albert came in second. So yeah, I lost, but I also won. So I would consider that a win, or neutral. I would consider this victory a neutral. So yep. So far, I solved most of these things pretty accurately. The only one that was off was Riddle on the Rails. That was a finality thing, but that was complete. So, yeah, most of the times I solved them pretty good, and I got mostly right most of the times. And this is the only one out of all of them I end up being neutral. Riddle is on the Rails was something was missing, so I had to sped that up and finish that. But I knew who killed that in that scenario. This one, who I wanted, what I wanted, didn't happen. Just like in Bloodbath, didn't happen. But I'm satisfied. Unlike Garrow in Bloodbath, I wasn't satisfied, because in Garrow situation compared to this girl, I knew she was logically the killer, and I was willing to accept it because it made more sense. Where in Garrow's situation, it made little sense. It made obvious sense because the game was pushing me towards her, towards Garrow from the very beginning, where it wasn't pushing me from the very beginning with regards to her. It was pushing me to Hamish. So yeah, this one was a little bit smarter than Bloodbath, and also a little bit smarter than Abbey Grange. So yeah, I'm done with this for today. It's very good. So I'm at 8.3. No, 8.4. I'm at an 8.4 right now. So depending on the last one, this would be a game in the mid 8s to high 8s territory, depending on the very last one mission. Mid 8s to high 8s. I believe this would be mid 8s territory game. Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments is probably a mid 8s game, but I don't know yet. I'll see. But it's getting good. Every time it creeps up better than the last one, and every mission seems to be a little bit better than the mission. The Black Peter one started off very good, but then it dropped with Riddles on Rails, but then it got better with Abbey Grange, and then it got even better with this. So it's getting better. Alright, that's it for this video. I'm accepting my decision. Yeah, I feel very happy. This is the first time I lost, but I know I didn't lose. So it's a strange thing to win, even though you didn't win. But I feel better than any of the other ones. So it's not that I wanted it to be a woman to say screw women. I just was hoping it was a woman for crying out loud for once. But if it was actually, now that I think about it, if it was actually Albert, I think I would probably be even more happy. I would say, see, I told you so. It was him. Yeah, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. But being wrong doesn't mean I'm not going to be happy. So even though I was wrong, I still won because I'm happy. Alright. Impartial. This is the best one. I think this is the best one. A personality ranking, impartial. Last one was just because it made sense. But I am not taking sides. That's who I really am. I believe to my soul when it comes to making decisions and things in life, game-wise or otherwise. I look at things from an impartial approach. So yeah, this is my best one. 8.4 so far. Alright, that's it.